All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Tennessee Brando Show. Thank y'all so much for tuning in today. It's good to get back in the saddle doing these live streams. And now that I've kind of got some traveling out of the way and different stuff I had to take care of, maybe we can get back in a routine of doing these on Tuesdays. And the last time I was with you, I said, when I come back, I'm going to have a special guest join us because it's always a lot more fun to sit here and shoot the breeze with a friend. And also just because we're in such a crazy time, sometimes you need somebody to lean on. And so I called up one of my best friends and he reached out and was like, yeah, I'll be glad to come on. And so here we are. And I'm so glad to have with me today, back in the saddle, Coach D. How's it going, man? Okay. Maybe the coach has lost his signal or something, but we'll see if he makes it back. All right. Well, that was let's see. He may have lost his internet connection. The coach is here. We were talking. I promise I wasn't pulling one on you. I promise you that. Let's see, here we go. All right. You with us, man?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, I could hear you. Okay. I think we're having some sort of delay issue that I've not dealt with before. Are you hearing me okay?
I'm hearing you pretty well, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get rolling here in a second. I appreciate you for coming on, man. It's always great to see you. We had No Kings this past week. And so did you attend this one? Okay. Folks, I don't know what the problem is at the moment. We're getting off to a rough start here, but y'all bear with us and we'll see what is going on. Hope everyone's doing good. And I don't know. Me and the coach was sitting here talking plain as day before the show started. I hit go live, and now here we are facing this issue that I don't know why. But maybe we'll be able to. There we are. Are you there, Coach? Nope. Okay. Well, I can wing it, and this is where the 25 years of playing music has really been a help to me, because I have been in so many situations where I started off the show and then something went south. I always used to tell people that once I got through the first song when I was playing live, that I was good from there. There were so many times where as long as we got through that first song, I was okay. But I remember one time, I'll tell the story while I'm waiting on the coach to come back. One time I was doing a show, and I showed up that day. I was just feeling like crap. I didn't want to be there, really and truly. I just was like, kind of like the old comedian Bill Hicks used to say, I was putting on a fake smile and plowing through it one more time. And I get up there, and the band was sounding good and everything. The sound system was working, and we opened up with Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash. And the next thing I know, I go into that solo, and I broke a B string in the middle of that solo. And that kind of irritated me. And then when I went to do the turnaround, down, 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 bow, bow, I popped the top E. So it was like, how do you break two strings that fast right at the start of the show? And we were a 3-piece band at the time. So there was no other guitar player for me to fall back on. And the only thing that I could do at that particular moment was just wing it. It was like, so I made it through the rest of the song with no E string and no B string. And then I managed to go over and get my backup guitar and get it in tune and tell the crowd, hey, everybody, I'll be right back. Let me grab this other guitar. And so got back in the saddle and made it. And while I was doing that set, a good friend of mine was over restringing my guitar that I broke two strings. So it's not the first time that I've had moments like this, but we'll get the coach in here just as soon as we can. And we'll talk about Donald Trump and all of the crazy stuff that he's doing. Because, we just never really realized just how fast and just how hard that Donald Trump was going to put the hammer down on everything. I know so many people going into this whole thing thought, well, it won't be that bad. But we knew it was going to be that bad. And the reason why we knew it was going to be that bad is because, first of all, he was gave immunity by the Supreme Court. And we knew that Donald Trump would come in with nothing more than revenge and retribution on his mind. And so that's exactly what he did. And just imagine if you were really out to get revenge on someone and then you were told that you had immunity and you could do whatever you please. So that's why we're seeing Donald Trump just run completely over top of the Constitution. It's why that we're seeing him do all this stuff with no approval from Congress whatsoever. He's just going for it. He's just absolutely going out there and going for it, and he can, because there's no adult in the room to stop him this time. The first go around in the first Trump administration, he still had some people in there that would at least try to say, "Hey, you can't do that," and would try to pump the brakes in some way. But with this administration, he literally picked loyalist. And I saw Adam Mockler on CNN. He was debating that Jennings dude, and the Jennings dude was like, "Well, every president surrounds themselves by people who will push their agenda." And while that may be true, most presidents bring someone in with experience in that department, which Trump didn't do in most cases. They bring someone in with experience in that department who will go by the rules and also will hold them to account. That's usually how it's supposed to work in government. But this go around, that's not happened at all. And so, here we are with Trump doing whatever he wants to do, whenever he wants to do it. And there's not a whole lot that we can do about it other than just sit back and watch. So after Trump promised to not destroy the East, to destroy any of the White House, now they're destroying the East Wing to build his ballroom. And to all the people out there who voted for Trump, I don't ever recall any of those people ever asking for a ballroom. Do you remember any farmer saying, "Hey, boy, we sure could use a ballroom at the White House"? Do you ever remember anyone saying that? Because I sure as hell don't. I don't remember it ever being brought up on the campaign trail that, boy, what this country needs is a ballroom. But it just shows you how out of touch that Donald Trump truly is with his voters, and how out of touch they are with him. They think that he's on their side. They think that he cares about them because he just empowers their hatred. Well, there's a big difference between empowering someone's hatred versus fulfilling the promises that you made on the trail. And I remember when Trump was reelected, I had a lot of people saying things like, "Oh, don't worry about it, Brando. It ain't going to be too bad, man. Besides, we're going to get cheaper eggs and we're going to get a cheaper grocery bill." None of those things have happened. And boy, he's going to put America first. That was the big one. It's going to be great to have a president that puts America first. And then it's anything but that. Now we're seeing him bail out Argentina and saying, "Hey, the Argentina people, they're suffering. They're suffering. We have to go help them." And it's so funny to me, if you'll notice, he said, "I like their president." And that's kind of what it boils down to. We saw the mockery that he's made out of Ukraine and everything that's going on there. And you just got to think back on all the times that you heard someone say that, "Boy, if we had all that money back that we had wasted, on Ukraine," that's what they would say. And now that money's being sent to Argentina, and now that money is building a ballroom, and the government is shut down. So there's that. While people are out there going to work and struggling to pay their bills, the government's not working for them. Instead, at this particular moment in time, the government is protecting pedophiles. And yes, I went there because I really do believe at the heart of it, I think that's a way bigger part of this story than they ever care to let on, because Adelita Grijalva out of Arizona is now the 218th vote. They still haven't sworn her in. And folks, to tell you the truth, I have people say, "Brando, when do you think this government shutdown will finally come to an end?" I truly don't know. I feel like that old Amazing Rhythm Aces song, "The End Is Not in Sight." I don't think that we'll be out of the woods for a while, because when they open it, they got to swear in Adelita Grijalva. And do you really think that they'll do that is the question. Because once they do, they have to release the files, and it kind of comes down then to, okay, what's going to happen? Where are we going to go from there? Will we be able to see this, or will it all be hidden? And I also saw Donald Trump too saying that Joe Biden had probably stuck his name in the Epstein files as a way to get revenge on him. It's always something. There's always an excuse. And I've never seen a president in my lifetime just break promises as blatantly as Donald Trump does, and somehow he's convinced his flock that it's a Democrat's fault. So now that I've sat here and ad-libbed for about 10 minutes, I'm going to attempt to bring the coach back on, and we'll get this thing rolling. Coach, how you doing? Can you hear me? Okay,
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I've been sitting here talking to the people about the whole idea of Trump saying there's America first, and we're seeing him completely abandon that. And somehow or another, he's convinced his flock to believe that this is somehow the Democrats' fault. And I can't make it make sense. Can you?
And I often wonder how many times they're going to kind of fall for this, right? We've seen, the Doge dividend check never happened. The tariff dividend check never happened. Now we're looking at, 20 to 40 billion dollars, depending on who you talk to, being given to Argentina. And these are the same people who are telling us that they can't pay off people's student loan debt, they can't give Americans health care, and they can't pay for kids to eat lunch at schools. So I don't know how many times they're going to fall for it. I think a cattle farmer, Meriwether Farms, wrote a tweet to Donald Trump, basically praising him for everything, but begging him not to hurt cattle ranchers, which he's doing and he doesn't care. It's like they haven't figured out that everything with him is transactional, that it's all quid pro quo. And like I said in one of my videos, if you have no quid, he has no pro quo. I mean, that's just basically how it is. So I really don't understand, the continuing of like falling for these lies over and over again.
I know. And, the thing is, I've voted Democrat my entire life. Ever since I've, been old enough to vote, I've voted for the Democratic Party. And I've been disappointed by the Democratic Party, and I've voiced that. I've voiced where Democrats didn't, fulfill certain promises or didn't do things that I thought they were going to do. But I've never had to defend the stuff that MAGA has to defend from Donald Trump. I've never had to defend a president sharing AI videos of him literally dumping shit on the American people. So, were you out at the protest this weekend? Because I was. I made it down to Knoxville, and I didn't get hit with any flying shit, luckily. But it's so possible with this administration.
I was at one in Ventura, California. We were driving from San Luis Obispo to LA, and our first stop was our best stop to get there. To get to one was in Ventura, which was awesome. I mean, I can't guess the amount of people that were there, but there were a lot of people there. I went live during it, talked to a lot of people there. I think it was, when you say like this is what democracy looked like, it's 100% that, and so yeah, I enjoyed that. I thought that dumping the crap on, Harry Sisson just taking strays from the president is hilarious to me, and I thought he handled that well. It's just funny to me that a guy like Harry Sisson, a 24, 25-year-old, guy who does basically what we do, is in Donald Trump and JD Vance's crosshairs. Like, that is an absolute joke to me. I don't really know how to. There's just so many things that you think, if this were just some random podcast or some random YouTuber doing this, it would be funny. But this is the president of the United States having back and forth banter with another social media influencer. It's so unbecoming. And I remember when they were saying, we're going to make him presidential. That was the whole thing, is that he was going to look presidential. He was going to be presidential. He's none of that. He's none of that right now. And we're watching him just self-destruct in front of our eyes. And it's a complete joke. Complete
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah, one of the things that I've thought about, and I'll admit to getting this wrong, I kind of thought maybe JD Vance would try to be more your voice of reason, dude. I really thought that he would try to just sort of dial it back a little bit, because he's got a career ahead of him. He's still a young man. He's got a whole career ahead of him, but yet here he is with Donald Trump just doubling down on it. And I saw where he replied to Harry, and was because Harry said, "How did I end up in this video?" And JD Vance actually communicates with him and says, "I'll ask him for you, Harry." It's like, I would have thought JD Vance would have played it a little bit smarter, because he's going to have to live with this he could be around for another 40 years, and he's going to have to live with it, but he doesn't care.
When you look at all of these people who've been in Donald Trump's administration, who he's gone after now, or he's turned his back on, or they've become an enemy of his, you would think every one of them would be kind of cognizant of the fact that they could be next. But it's like they don't notice it at all. It's like they just don't notice at all that everything that he has done in the past will happen to them as well. They have no protection from him. A lot of the things that are happening right now with ICE raids and stuff like that, these are things that are illegal. These are things that are going to have these people find themselves on the other side of a lawyer and a judge having to explain why they went along with this, and he'll be done. He's already found a way to get immunity for presidents anyway. He's done. So all of these people, your Marco Rubios, your Kristi Noems, your Kash Patels, JD Vance, these people are still in their 40s. Like, they're going to pay for these decisions that they're making. And it's, I mean, I'm here for it. I'm here to see every single one of them, be put in front of a judge and have to explain why they thought all of these illegal activities that they were engaging in were going to be okay, because they're absolutely not okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And one of the comments I'm seeing in the comment section, and one of the first like gut feelings I had as well when I saw the East Wing being destroyed, and you think about him building a $250 million ballroom. Does this sound like the type of guy that's planning on leaving anytime soon?
Even going to be built like in time for him to leave? Like, all the things that he's doing. I mean, I've as a track coach, I've been around for new stadium rebuilds and all that. Those things never happen on any type of time schedule that you expect. So no, he does not seem like someone who thinks he's going to be leaving anytime soon. And I was one of those people who was kind of pushing back against the alarm of like, he's not going to leave. We're never going to vote again and stuff like that. But then you start to see the things that are happening. Like, I've been on record to say that the reason why we are seeing ICE agents and Border Patrol agents and the National Guard in cities in America is because he wants the chaos. He wants the unruliness, because he wants to be able to use that to say, hey, we can't have elections in the midterms because we have too much chaos on the streets. Like, I am 100% would not be surprised if that is what comes out of his mouth within the next, couple of months here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all, man. And I just never really realized just how fast that he would push the hammer down on all this. I didn't have a whole lot of hope. I mean, I didn't have no faith in the guy, but I do remember when you and I first met, and we were sitting and having a beer together with some of my friends, and we were talking, and they were like, how concerned are you all about what's going to happen next? And we were both, giving our answers. But I just remember at the time knowing that, yeah, it's gonna be bad, but I just didn't realize how fast everything will come off the rails, and also how that no one is standing in his way. There's no one there to pump the brakes this time. There's no one there to say, we can't do this or go about this way. So it does make you wonder as we roll into the midterms if we're even going to have one, because like you said, he could easily say, you know what, we've got this chaos and we're not going to be able to do that. And so that's what I worry about too.
Like PBS NewsHour, and he was saying, in the first term, there were adults in the room. There were some adults around him. He even appointed some people who we knew were stand-up people. He got rid of them. And then for the next 4 years, after his first term, he watched who was going to be the most loyal people to him. He watched Pete Hegseth on Fox News just sing his praises all the time. He watched Kash Patel say, man, if I get in there with Donald Trump, I'm going to do this, this, and this. So he saw exactly who was going to be the most loyal to him, and he got those people in. He got people in who would not push back against all of the things that he's doing. So you're right. I mean, like I said, in the first term, maybe there were adults in the room, but in this new term, there are none. I mean, you remember the picture of Marco Rubio sitting on the couch looking completely defeated. I feel like that's all of them. I feel like they're all just sit. I gotta imagine. There's part of them that are thinking, gosh, man, what are we getting ourselves into? You would hope, right? But none of them are doing anything about it. And I have this feeling that there's going to be a mass exodus like there was during the first term at some point, and those people are going to come out and say, yeah, that dude's batshit crazy, and I just couldn't be a part of it anymore. But right now, they're enjoying it. And I want to say this too. And congressional hearings need to go away. We should not be, they shouldn't be interviewing these people. They shouldn't be having congressional hearings, because here's what's happening. You have, the press secretary, Caroline Levitt. She's texting someone, your mom, right? You have Kash Patel, Kristi Noem, Pam Bondi in these congressional hearings, and they're just completely disrespecting all of these senators all the time, just however they want. And I feel like the Democrats think they're going to use that as some type of moral high ground. You're not getting that. The MAGAs love this. Caroline Levitt tweeting your mom or texting that to some, some news organization, they love that. Pam Bondi calling someone a name at a congressional hearing, they love that. There's no more moral high ground. So it's worthless to have these congressional hearings. It's worthless to interview these people because they have no respect. And I feel like Donald Trump is telling them, go out there, say whatever the hell you want, because these idiots who support us, they love that crap. They love to see you guys be disrespectful.
Yeah, I really feel that. I'm sure he sits there and coaches them, because when you see, especially the Pam Bondi one, she just literally leaned hard. And every answer was an insult. Every answer was her just firing back, and it was so Trump-like that I just imagine him saying, "Yeah, this is how you do it. This is what they want to see." And you're right. The more that we give them the microphone, the more that they're just going to cut loose. However, by having them on the microphone, you do have a mountain of evidence you can use against them later that they weren't able to answer the questions the right way. But I do feel that a whole lot of these people got in there thinking, I think about Kash Patel a lot because he was on all these podcasts forever talking about the Epstein files and talking about, what and all was there. And now he just stands there beside Trump looking like a deer in headlights. And I just say to myself, I wonder what's going through his mind, because I just think he really came in thinking one thing was going to happen, and now there's another. He went from saying he was going to expose the deep state to now he is. And I just wonder, how does a guy like that sleep at night?
I think he sleeps very well. And I also want to point out that when you said he looks like a deer in headlights, that is not you making fun of his eyes. That is you saying he looks like a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people doing that. But no, I feel like they sleep well. I don't know. I mean, Cash. Let's be real here. Cash was batshit crazy before he came in. Like, he was saying things that you knew just weren't true, and he's going to turn the Pentagon into something or whatever, and he's going to release all the files on day one. But they have to at least be questioning why they're falling in line with this, because I do believe they were being real when they said they wanted to release those files. I believe him, Dan Bongino, really thought, we're going to get in there, we're going to release those files. And now they're being told not to. And it's so crazy because anytime a MAGA comes to me and says, oh, you guys care about the Epstein files. Now, I always say, you guys were told to stop caring about trafficked and assaulted kids, and so you did. You all cared about it before this presidency. And then he got on the microphone, he said, stop caring about it. Stop caring about it. It's a Democratic hoax run by Barack Obama. And all of you said, all right, Daddy. Okay, Daddy, we'll do what you say. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man. I don't know.
Yeah, they did, man. They just completely rolled over. And I agree. I think they definitely went in there with this thought of something else happening. They thought they were really going to expose something, and then, it ended up not happening. But how much of this government shutdown do you believe is because of the Epstein files and them not wanting to swear in Adelita Grijalva out of Arizona?
I saw Mike Johnson go out there and say, we'll swear in wherever she wants to. And then he came up with some other excuse, and then some other excuse. Before that, I would have said, oh, come on, it doesn't have anything to do with that. But now, I think it's 90% of it. I think it's 90% of it. If they want, because even Marjorie Taylor Greene pointed out that if they wanted to use the nuclear option so that they would not need any Democratic votes, they could do that and end this government shutdown. They're choosing not to because they are afraid to release those files. I absolutely believe that.
I do too, and I thought it, because I saw where he went on there was a clip I seen where he was on, I can't remember which news station, but he tried to bring up Pelosi and say that she didn't swear someone in for 20 some days, and the host cuts in and goes, yeah, but that's when that person wanted to be sworn in. That's when they asked to be sworn in, and then he's like, well, okay, well, let me tell you something different. And Johnson's another one who I just feel like when I see him, he just seems so rattled these days. Like he just looks like, I don't know. He just looks like the guy that's just going out there and taking a beating for the team, and it's like there he stands and he's just sort of like trying to come up with excuses and hoping that he can make it go away. And the more he tries to dig himself out of the hole, the bigger of a hole he puts himself in.
That guy, right, who came into all this talking about Christian values, morals, and all that. And now he has to be the one to defend Donald Trump when someone says, "Hey, what'd you think of that AI video Donald Trump posted of him dumping shit on everyone?" He's like, "Well, the president, he uses social media better than anyone in the history of the country has." Like, you have to defend crap like that. Like, you're the Speaker of the House, third in line to be the president, and your job these days is to defend all the dumb crap that the president posts on social media. I
Yeah.
mean, that's we like we will never see times like this ever again.
Yeah.
It's crazy right now, and it's what's sad about it is it barely even like gets a response out of us now. We have normalized that the president of the
Mhm.
United States does crazy stuff on social media, and we just move on.
Yeah. And what's I agree, and what's really disturbed me about it all is just thinking about the young kids that are growing up in this era, and this is their first memories of a president, and they're going to grow up thinking this is normal, and we've just sort of become numb to it to the point that we're just kind of like, yeah, it's. And sometimes I even catch myself going, that's just Trump. And then I'm like, that we shouldn't be here. Like, we shouldn't be sitting here talking about a president sharing an AI video of him dumping shit, or putting sombreros on Hakeem Jeffries. I mean, or crowns on his own head. It's crazy to me that we're here, but it's also crazy when I think about my younger kids and grandkids, and I think about, man, they're coming up in this era and they're looking at that. And my first memory of a president on TV was Ronald Reagan. And I'm not saying I'd vote for him if he was here today, but he was definitely a lot more of a statesman and a lot more, seemed to have more respect. At least when I was growing up, he was a good speaker and he looked presidential. I mean, this guy's just totally everything that's the opposite of that. And I don't know how it's one of those things where I feel like we're just going to have to really do our best to teach our children the best we can, because there's a whole lot of young Republicans that are growing up too. So I don't know if it's going away anytime soon.
And it's funny when he says this, I think, yeah, he's really that young. He spent all of his formative years with Donald Trump as the president.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's watched this. So you're right. Like, people like him didn't get to see, besides, obviously there was Joe Biden and maybe a little bit of Barack Obama, but their memory of a president is going to be coming into this world, like seeing that guy and seeing him do the things that he does. And then, and like you said, a lot of young Republicans growing up, which, you say young Republicans, make me think of the group with the group chat and everything, who
Mm-hmm.
were not young at all. But
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. I mean, there's going to be, because I mean, think about it for a second. You know how many of these people are now going to try to mimic exactly what he did? They see that as a path to, prominence, to the
Yeah.
presidency or whatever. So it's not going to get better, because a lot of these people are going to try to do it, and a lot of them, frankly, are smarter than Donald Trump. So it could get worse, actually.
Yeah, I believe so. And I just, the part that's the most disturbing to me is when you have, you think about JD Vance and the fact that he's got a whole career ahead of him. And he's a young man, and he's not condemning blatant racism, people who are cheering for Hitler, and people who are, talking about bringing back gas chambers and raping political opponents. And they just laugh that off like it's a joke. And it's crazy to me, because what it tells those types of people is, hey, the vice president and the president have no problem with it, so I can do it.
They swear it off as like, these are kids, don't worry about what kids are saying. And you know what I've seen a bunch of too, and this is blatant racism, is they'll show the picture of the Ukrainian girl who was killed by the guy on the subway, and they'll say, I don't want to hear about any group chats because of this. And it's like, a criminal had a criminal act, a black man it happened to be, who has been arrested and will be held accountable for that. And you're saying, because of that one black guy committing that one crime, it should be open season for racism. I've pointed out many times that white men kill, assault, whatever to white women every day. But Republicans never amplify those stories. They only amplify stories that are stories when black people perpetuated the violence or the crime or whatever. And they do that on purpose. Anyone who thinks that this is not full on, blatant, overt racism is not paying attention or is playing stupid, because that is exactly what it is. It's blatant racism.
It truly is, man. And I feel like we're in for the long haul. And, when I've talked to my son about it, and he's about, Adam Mockler and Harry's age, that same age. And listening to Harry and Adam talk about growing up in the pandemic has made me, really start having more conversations about that with my own son. Cause at the time, I was just trying to get through it from the adult's point of view. But then I also think about this era and the kids that are growing up during this and where we go from here. So I know you got to get going. You said you had to leave around 12:30. So I really appreciate you coming on. And you're welcome here anytime, man. Let everyone know where they can find you and where your stuff's at these days.
That Coach D_speaks on Instagram, YouTube, all the channels and everything. And as always, man, congratulations on your success. Love what you're doing. Appreciate you having me on.
You too, man. You're welcome anytime. Take care of yourself. Awesome. All right, everybody. It's always great having Coach D on the show. We had a couple of little hiccups there at the beginning, but we made it through it as always. And I appreciate y'all so much for sticking with us. We're definitely in some crazy times, and all we can do, in my mind, is just try to push forward and try to learn from it. We're the type of people that do learn from things. Whereas I feel like MAGA has always been of the nature that they don't try to learn from anything. They don't try to look at any experience and learn from it. If they lose, they don't go back to the drawing board and say, we lost and how can we, get this back together again. What they do is dig in their heels and cry fake news and say they didn't lose. And so, it would be a completely different world today if after the 2020 election, Donald Trump had just accepted that defeat like a man and went back to the drawing board and been a more reasonable human being. But he wasn't. And he amplified a lot of other unreasonable human beings. And because of that, we're now in the mess that we're in. But like I was saying to Coach D, we've had to defend Democrats in the past. And don't get me wrong, Democrats piss us off every day. They do. But we've never had to defend them on the level that Trump supporters have to defend Donald Trump. And we don't have to sit and go to bat for them in the manner that they do. It's absolutely insane that we're here and that we're here this fast. But before we go, I do want to thank Virginia, and thanks to Rachel, and also thanks to Ann Smith for your donations, and also for Virginia to becoming a new member. I really appreciate that. Shout out to all the members who's been here on the show, and a shout out to the moderators, and also to Coach D. So just be sure to go follow him. Coach D Speaks here on YouTube. He's killing it on YouTube as well, and doing really good. And I always enjoy his takes on things, and he's always welcome here. So y'all, also thanks to K Cinema before we go. I really appreciate it. We'll just we'll close on this note. Let's keep that same energy. Let's always try our damnedest to stay ahead, because we're going to have to if we're going to get through this. We have to keep the energy that we had on No King's Day. A lot of people says, well, do you think these protests do any good? I do think they're a start. I think they're a starting point as to where you do good and you build from. We had the first No Kings, and then the second one was bigger, which means more people was alert and aware of what was going on. And if it rolls around and there's a third one, there'll be more people at that one, because people are going to be affected by this administration. So that's all that we can do, is continue to push forward and stand against this. But when I see that image of the East Wing of the White House being torn down, and when I see AI videos of him dumping shit on the United States, and the protesters, what I say to myself is, well, he's been destroying America since he got back. He was doing it the first time. He's doing it even harder this time, and he's been shitting on us every step of the way. So those AI videos to me is just more of an amplification of who he truly is. But I got to run and go do some things, and I appreciate Coach D for coming on. So be sure and go follow and subscribe to his channel, and we'll see you back here again next Tuesday. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your week.